Hi, everybody. I'm a Raging Papist. Thanks for joining me. I recently was solicited on Twitter by Based Gamer, and it was really awesome. Based Gamer, if you don't know, is sort of it's a review site, sort of by gamers for gamers of a place where you can go to write editorials and reviews and just kind of talk about gaming. It is a place that was created as a with the backdrop of Gamergate, because a lot of gamers were saying, "Hey, where can I go to sort of escape the if Metacritic is kind of corrupt and you can't trust that, if I can't trust any of these other sites, where can a gamer go to get gamer opinions?" And Based Gamer was sort of designed for that. And I did not contribute really to. I didn't give any money or anything like that to Based Gamer as they were getting set up. It took them a really long time, but in the beginning they were asking for reviews and so it was a long time ago that I wrote this review on Dragon Age Inquisition. It's over a year ago now that I wrote it, but it was published a couple months back when the website came online, and it was an honor for me to get the devs to say, "Hey, we just read this thing, we thought it was great, we just want to let you know." And I was like, "Oh well, thank you very much." So I thought I'd take the time to go ahead and read the review that I wrote, and then give some of my thoughts on Bioware and what could be coming up with Andromeda, uh, if I'm going to be purchasing that, and what do I expect from it. Spoiler, I'm probably not. But anyway, I thought I'd go ahead and give you guys a little tidbit here of what we did. So it begins. Dragon Age Inquisition was BioWare's saving throw after the fallout of the Mass Effect 3 ending controversy. As such, it was designed to appeal to as many people as possible, an apology to the fans, yet a transition to something new. It failed to appease the old BioWare fans, yet it clearly did bring BioWare a new outspoken audience. Unfortunately, in trying to make a game that appeals to everybody, they wound up appealing to few and leave an unremarkable impact upon the gamer. As such, the game itself became the one thing that it couldn't afford to be, a slog through mediocrity. Plotline and narrative is broken into three segments, or chapters of the game. Through those segments, the Inquisitor will rise as the Chosen One to lead the Inquisition and ultimately save Thetis from a godlike adversary who intends to reshape the world in his image. The problem with the plotline is not that it's typical, it's that the player never really feels as though they lead the Inquisition. Although the gamer gets to choose whom the Inquisition supports or who will back you as allies, the choice never really feels meaningful, as those factions contribute next to nothing in terms of gameplay and will simply stand in for each other during required cutscenes. They offer nothing meaningful or unique to the experience. The open world to explore is a new device for BioWare to tackle, given that they traditionally created linear, story, and character-driven cinematic RPGs. Dragon Age Inquisition is a clear demonstration of this experiment design for the company. Although the areas to explore are certainly larger than their older titles, the problem lies in that there is very little that's interesting to do in those areas, regardless of how beautiful they may be to look at, which they are. The quests that the player embarks on are uninteresting and do not contribute meaningfully to the story taking place. They function as fetch quests that would only associate with MMORPGs, which are designed to level the player and extend the duration of gameplay. The problem with these quests is furthered by bland writing. In the hinterlands alone, the largest area to explore, the quests range from escorting animals back to a farm, gathering minerals via mining, gathering animals for food, crafting and quests, and stopping the struggle between mages and Templars that was initiated in Dragon Age 2. While some quests strike a decent tone in conveying the struggles of everyday people in the setting, the game is also reminded just how incompetent the mages and Templars are. An example of such quests is where the player must exact revenge against Templars to bring back the wedding ring to a widow who lost her husband because he was mistaken to be a mage by Templars. Now, why was he mistaken? Because he was holding a shovel, which the Templars mistook to be a mage staff. So to the gamer, not only are the mages and Templars malicious, they are also incompetent. Naughty people should not be naughty, and so must be stopped, is the line of reasoning for many of the quests. Unfortunately, the writing of this quest is also one of the more compelling ones in the region. Crafting in Dragon Age Inquisition is larger than any crafting system BioWare has ever done in the past. There are many models of weapons and armor pieces that change the appearance of the items. The problem is that as the player levels, their items do not. This means that if you wish to craft the best gear in terms of stats and are not concerned with how your avatar looks, you can select only a handful of pieces that allow for those stats. If the player does not care about stats or efficiency, then there are many pieces to choose from to customize your weapons. But I must then wonder why this person is playing an RPG. We RPGers tend to want to look good and have good stats. And why is the player forced to mine and hunt when we have the might of the Inquisition behind us? The music in Dragon Age Inquisition is wonderful in its delivering of grand, epic themes. However, in terms of ambience, it is sorely lacking. The gamer will often find themselves in total silence as they hack, smash, or blast their way through countless foes. One of the things that elevates Bioware from its competition has always been their emphasis on good character writing, accompanied by talented voice actors. DAI continues this legacy of having talented voice actors deliver lines. However, the writing this time around has taken a backseat to player attitudes. Instead of portraying characters that have strong feelings and emotions, that hold to their ideologies, ideas that make them complex and memorable, things in which they feel strongly about, that they're willing to fight and die for, the characters in DAI are largely made to be as non-offensive and likable as possible. It's true that there are times that characters will not like the player's actions and tell them as much, maybe even leave the party, but there's nothing that encourages the gamer to really reflect about their actions taken. The party member will simply tell the player that they're wrong, which does not encourage the player to think about the situation in any new light. Older Bioware titles would emphasize the seriousness of contemporary social issues, but allow the player to explore those issues, to see all sides and form a conclusion on their own. In other words, difficult moral decisions, the reason why so many people enjoy Bioware RPGs, this game does not have. Overall, it depends on what the gamer is looking for. If you are part of the old Bioware fan base that enjoys slow-burning cinematic RPGs with an emphasis on story, character, narrative choice, and role-playing, with a large payoff in the end, then this title is not for you. If you are part of the new fan base that tends to favor action, emotion, personal connection, and has little prior experience with traditional RPGs that seeks more instant gratification, you may enjoy this game. If you are hoping that this would be the game to redeem Bioware and restore the magic that the company used to bring to our consoles and computers, then perhaps you'll have better luck in Mass Effect Andromeda. As for now, they are currently out of mana. That is my written review of Dragon Age Inquisition. I did play it on computer. I put close to 100 hours, I think, and as I stated earlier, I went through it 1.5 times because by the time I got about halfway through the second, I just couldn't continue. I mean, the characters were just so poorly written. The story was just so mundane that I just couldn't. If the characters in the game, if they can't compel me to care, then I'm not going to keep playing the game. That sort of brings us to where I see Bioware going. For me, Bioware is kind of dead as a company. The only way that I would purchase Mass Effect Andromeda is if reviewers that I deeply trust, not most of the media that you see, and there's a lot of channels that shill Bioware currently, like a bunch of Mass Effect Andromeda sites and how amazing this game is going to be, and they know nothing. These are sites on YouTube that just love Mass Effect, and so it doesn't matter what Bioware EA gives them, they're going to buy it. And that's what I find sort of particularly offensive to me, is just the whole, I don't care if people like games that I don't like. Sure, I only play RPGs. Other people despise RPGs, whatever. But it's the attitude that whatever they give us will be fun. I'm going to make it fun for me. And it's like, why would you do that? Why would you give your money to a company that doesn't care, really? In fact, I just saw a video earlier this evening that was Bioware accepting some type of award for it was either a year or two ago when the game came out, like best graphics or whatnot. And in the video, it's a joke of two of the characters talking and saying, why do people play our games? Well, they play it for the romance. And the joke is that the character, there's one character, Cassandra, if you play Dragon Age, you know who that is, who's saying, "Oh no, people play our games for the politics and the intrigue and the ideas and the writing," and she starts to flutter away as a hot guy goes walking behind her. I don't remember who the character is. Maybe it might have been Cullen. I'm not sure. And it's like, yeah, BioWare knows who they're writing for now, and within that, you can see the decline of them as a company. A lot of people wonder when sort of the writing and the qualities of BioWare started going downhill. For me, I would say that it actually started taking place as far back as Jade Empire. Most people kind of trace it towards the purchase of by EA, so right before Mass Effect 2, as their sort of last hurrah before they really got infected. But for me, I would actually go back as far as Jade Empire. Jade Empire was a very interesting world. It was Asian, which was something that we don't see a lot of in RPGs, and with pretty well written characters and things of that nature, a fun, interesting combat style. But the problem with the writing is that I feel like, and I will try to avoid spoilers. You should play some of these games. The problem with it is that from a writing standpoint, they relied on a very similar technique to their previous game, Knights of the Old Republic, KOTOR, the original KOTOR that everyone knows and pretty much universally loves. And so you release KOTOR and then you release Jade Empire, which relies on the same writing device, and it's like, oh, that's interesting, I guess. And I also recall that the game was just not very long. I guess I had been spoiled by JRPGs going into Western RPGs, in that I was expecting like a solid 50, 60, maybe 70-hour RPG. I remember even in the previous KOTOR, I had spent, that's the amount of time that I had spent in this game in a single playthrough. And in Jade Empire, that was not the case. And I was really stunned when sort of I could feel the conclusion coming after only 20 to 30 hours. And that's something that people will dispute. I mean, some people really like those long games. That's why, because I like to engross myself in the world. Other people don't have time for it. They want their RPGs to be even faster. Like just give me what I need to know and let's keep it moving here. That's why recently they've been doing the story mode difficulty in a lot of RPGs coming out now, where it's just you basically tap enemies and they die. The point is, get me to the next cinematic portion, right? Tap A to win, get me there. So just different strokes for different folks. But that was where I first started seeing the cracks. Because I'm like, oh, well, they're trying something new, but they kind of failed at it. It was resuscitated in the original Mass Effect for me. And sort of back to back, they had two just amazing games. Amazing games. Dragon Age Origin and Mass Effect 1. The original Mass Effect, I can't tell you how much that shaped me as a gamer. To not sound sappy, I'm studying to be a law student currently, and I had kind of known that I wanted to be an attorney for some time, but Mass Effect came out in college for me, and at the end of Mass Effect 1, when they had fonts running in the background, the name of the band, I believe, during the credits, I was so blown away. I actually, for the first time in my life, I think I went to the options to watch the credits again. I've never done that. I mean, does anyone actually do that? I don't think so. Like, oh, let me go watch the credits for this game. And towards the bottom of the credits, they had legal division. The people that work on copyrights and things of that nature. And I was like, wait a minute. If I get a law degree, I can work for BioWare. And if maybe not BioWare, maybe whoever is their subsidiary, whoever is part of their legal division, who gets them the copyrights and the licenses and all the things that they need. And that motivated me. That was the depth of my love for BioWare and for Mass Effect. I'm like, wow, this it blew me away. On the fantasy side of things, you had Dragon Age Origins, which was astounding. Fantastic writing, a fantastic world based historically. Thetis is based historically on Europe. Tevinter is the Byzantine Empire, who is constantly being besieged by the Kunari, which are the hordes of the Caliphate and the hordes of Islam. In the west, of course, west of the Byzantine Empire, what do you have? You have France, so you have France, England, you have the city-states of the Italian city-states. You can naturally see all these nations and all these places in Thetis. And I remember being really engrossed in the story, really engrossed. There was majesty, there was emotion behind the characters of these games, of Mass Effect and of Dragon Age Origins. And in fact, one of the things that I actually really liked about Ashley Williams in Mass Effect was that she was a fantastically written character. I remember there's a conversation you can have with Ashley Williams about God. And the very fact that this conversation was in the Bioware game astounded me. It was just like, she's like, yeah, I believe in God. Like, what do you think? And the player can say yes, no, maybe. There's a variety of things you can say. And then she's like, yeah, I can't believe people are astounded by my faith in this, in the year that it is, in current year, and in a science fiction story. And she was a very well-written, she had depth to her political opinions, because, again, in a very well-written fantasy, there's a political movement on Earth called terra firma, and what that is sort of a quasi-xenophobic, like, they don't believe in multiculturalism. Actually, I'd probably really like them in real life, but as long as they don't, subscribe to violence. But they want humanity first, Earth for humans, terra firma, Earth first, if you will. And there's a time when Shepard can go talk to them. He talked to their leader, to their founder or their spokesman, and he's all like, "Hey, could you get an endorsement with us?" And you can say yes or no or piss off or any of those things. And if you have Ashley with you, she tells them to go to hell. And it was really stunned for me, because I'm like, oh, I thought Ashley would like terra firma. I thought she'd be like, yeah, Shep, you should sign up. No. She's against them because she sees them as out and out racist. There's no high philosophy or ideology behind them. It's just, you guys just hate aliens. It's a deep-seated hatred. And that's because if you pressure Ashley, if you talk to her and get her backstory, you find out why she likes the military. You find out why she's very skeptical and very dismissive of aliens and their attitudes, and it's realistic. It's very well written, and that sort of goes to why Bioware has declined for me. You guys may have seen memes and posters of who the writers were for these old games, and then EA acquires them 2 games later. They're all gone. I mean, the developers, the programmers, the writers, they're gone. And people wonder why the tone has changed of these stories, and the attitudes of these characters that were written are different, or they're just not developed anymore. So for me, the thing that makes writing critical to an RPG, and that's why I play RPGs. So the big thing for me is the writing, graphics, sound, control, the UI. These are all important, but is not good, then I just can't get into it. I don't have the time to give to this game that is demanded of me, because it's not a good story. Why should I invest time in this world? Whereas if the story is good, if the writing is tight, if the characters and the narrative make sense, is logically consistent, then I can overlook, subpar sound, subpar UI, things of that nature. And I think the problem that Bioware stumbled into was that when EA bought them, and you have the changing of the guard, new people coming in, people going out, the writers started to change. They had different personal attitudes. And what happened was people stopped writing. The writers stopped writing truth. What I mean by that is they stopped writing the world as it is. They stopped writing people as they are, with their faults, right, or with their flaws. And instead, they started to design their characters and the worlds in a very specific way. It's in a way that they would like the world to be. So, Mass Effect 3, you have there's no reason why aliens can't work together. There's not, all the divisions of that we had from Mass Effect 1. I remember, your human crew members were very skeptical. Should we have aliens on board? Are they going to look at our military secrets? How should we feel about this? And you can go with or against them. What's your position with the role of humanity? What's your position as a Spectre? All of these things are they just start sliding away into beat the Reapers because the Reapers are bad. And that for me was a great flaw going into Mass Effect 3. The nuances of the characters just vanished. You couldn't explore them anymore. And especially when Ashley and Caden were coming back, they weren't well written. I don't know what happened. You could probably say, well, it's because they're the stand-in for each other. If you have Caden, you can't have Ashley. So maybe in a way they kind of half-assed that character, because there's how much can the gamer pull from that character if they may not have them at all. So we won't invest too hard in them. But at the same time, I could argue the other way too. I mean, they clearly have these characters in their final DLC, the big party and all of that. There's clearly moments for these characters, but their personality, their motivations, the things that drives them to be like, yeah, no, I need to be here. I need to stand with Shepard, especially after number 2, where you're up with Cerberus and they don't like that you're there. It all just melts. It just melts under the weight of just keep going and saving people from the Reapers. And that's why in Mass Effect 3, it's the death scenes. What do you remember that are the emotional, impactful areas? It's the death scenes. The rest of the writing is mediocre at best. And yes, the ending was atrocious because it came out of nowhere. In the entire game, they are within the trilogy, they are building up the idea that if you unite the galaxy, either as a renegade, so you want humanity to be on top, or if you're the Paragon, where it's all sort of multicultural, wonderful, it's a big wide galaxy out there, let's all work together and combine our arms against the Reapers. That was the story. It was, if we stand together, we can win. And literally at the midnight hour, Casey Hudson and I believe it was Mac Walters. I don't remember, but they basically cut all the writers out and wrote this hit piece, this technological singularity ending, which is no matter what, you're destined to lose. Humanity can't win. The galaxy combined can't win. AI will simply take us over unless it learns. It's like war games. The only choice is not to kill yourself. The only choice is not to play the game. It was very similar to that, and so people were rightfully pissed off. This wasn't the story. It's like Adam Jensen. I didn't sign up for this. This is not what I asked for here. So the writing of the team has just gone down, and there were a lot of things going on behind the scenes at Bioware too. I remember reading dev posts and programmer posts on their personal blog sites, not associated with Bioware, that especially the transition from Dragon Age Origin to Dragon Age 2 was a massive blow for the developing team of 1. I don't know the specifics of what went on there, but I know that the lead designer of Dragon Age got super pissed when he heard what EA had their designs on. He said, I don't want any part of this. and a lot of the fellow writers and the programmers were like, this, yeah, this is not the Dragon Age. This is not what we signed up for. This is not our world anymore. And so they walked out, and they didn't come back. And you can see some of his, Google it yourself, the lead designer, Dragon Age 2. If I remember at the end of this video, I'll try to post his blog site in the description box. But as you can see, things are going from good to plateauing to declining now for BioWare. This is also a case of politics. You know, if you're on my channel, Raging Papist does dive into politics a lot when it comes into, pretty much, I'm alt-right. I don't care if you like that or not. But I'm reviewing gamings, and so I'm going to talk about this because, as I've said on other videos and to other people, BioWare is a good case study of what happens when you let political activists into your company, and they will change it internally and take it to their aims. For instance, David Gator he was the lead writer of Dragon Age Inquisition. Now, from what I know, he was a fine guy. I mean, Gator was on the BioWare staff and team for ages. Going back to Baldur's Gate and all of that. And two CEOs of BioWare never allowed him out of his programming role. I mean, he designed levels, he designed all these things, and he did write some characters, but it was very limited, very limited. And he was always checked. You know, his power was always checked. And when the doctors left, EA promoted him. Most likely because it looks good for diversity, because internally it looks great for diversity. I mean, BioWare touts itself as a big GLBT positivity activist company. They like that diversity in gaming. It's part of their company plan. And so when they had this guy working there, it was like, oh, you know, you've been with BioWare for so long. I'm sure you know it well. So they'll promote him to lead writer of Dragon Age Inquisition. And there's many ways to look at that. You could say it's a business decision. You could say it's an activist decision. Whatever the reason, Gator is now in charge. And I want you to think about the writing style and narrative of Origins and the writing style and narrative of Dragon Age Inquisition. What has changed? Gone is the truth. Gone is what these characters fight for. Gone is the motivation of these characters. Instead, the characters in Dragon Age Inquisition are almost token caricatures of what these activists want them to be. You have the Marxist Robin Hood, she's a scab, okay, and she's so cool, and she's atheistic, and you know, but she's with you in the end, and it's a big joke, right? Oh, the pants and all that stuff. You have Dorian, who's the high to Vinter guy, right? Good looking, charming, well educated, total nobleman, totally gay. You have Cullen, who is the heartthrob. The women love this man. Just totally sensitive and just the typical gentleman. You have I just remember the meme of the edgy guy, Cole. Yeah. People have made memes of this. He's Cole the Edgelord, Cole the Edgehog. Just these characters they're not Liliana, okay? They're not Morrigan. And Dragon Age Inquisition has been out for a very long time, so I'll just go ahead and spoiler this. So you have been warned. The breakdown of what happened between Morrigan and Flemeth was astounding. Okay, that was, in my opinion, a great betrayal of the trust placed in that relationship by gamers. In Dragon Age Origins, we may have helped Morrigan escape Flemeth, because the goal, Flemeth is the big bad witch. She's got her hand in the pot. That's her archetype. That's what she does. So the player's always wondering, oh, what's she got going on? And you find out her deep, dark secret if you investigate in Origins, which is the way she keeps living is, spoiler, the way she keeps living is by taking the bodies of her daughters. Okay, if the legends are true, that's what she does. And Morgan certainly believes this, right? And that's carried over. Even in Dragon Age 2, which was God, that was a bad game. But even in Dragon Age 2, they kept Flemeth with all her mystery, with her power, and oh man, she's so cool, and oh, she knows what's going to happen in the future. And then my God, in Dragon Age Inquisition, confrontation between Flemeth and Morgan, where she ultimately says, "Oh, I would never do that to you. You're my daughter. I love you." And it's a big crying moment for Morgan, and oh, how wonderful. I guess throughout the entire trilogy, we were just wrong. We were just wrong. And it's like, where is the pull? You see what I'm saying? Where is the gravitas? These characters are not consistent. You're not giving me a reason to care. I would care if Flemeth then said, well, now I'm going to take your body, Morgan. Or now the son that you may have, if you get carried over, I'm intending to possess him. Give me something to care about, Bioware. And they just don't know how to write that. You also have the fact that Bioware has really cultivated an audience. Bioware, I think, has one of the largest female audiences, which is not necessarily a bad thing. Not necessarily a bad thing at all, because I think it's about 30%. 30% of Bioware, the Bioware fan base, is female, which in a gaming fan base is enormous, absolutely enormous. Because very typically, women don't play games. Even women don't generally play RPGs. And on top of that, although there's not many female RPG players, that's still one of the biggest branches of female gamers, as far as I know. So the fact that they have a 30% fan base is enormous, and that's the fan base that Bioware really cultivates to. And you see this. For instance, the succubus demon from Dragon Age 1 and 2. Where is it in Inquisition? It's not existent. It's not there. Why was the succubus demon taken out? It's offensive. You'll find that out if you just go to the Bioware forums. Oh, well, I shouldn't say that. They're taking down the forums. Bioware doesn't necessarily care at all what their player base thinks. They're taking down the forums. And why are they doing this? You could say, I can already hear the detractors saying, "Oh, it's nothing. Oh, they're old forums. Who cares?" But the main reason that they have stated, and they did it constantly. I remember when I was on BSN, the devs and the programmers, only in the later end, only under Dragon Age Inquisition, did they actually say, our community is toxic. We don't like to be here. What they're saying is they don't like criticism. They can't take it. They don't enjoy it. So if I don't want criticism, I'll just turn you guys off. You guys can contact us on Twitter and Facebook and all these other social media platforms. Now, what does that mean? That means they can turn you off. How much criticism can you give in, 300 characters? How big is a tweet? If you go on their Facebook, who are you going to be surrounded by? You're going to be surrounded by people that love Bioware. So they're insulating themselves from any criticism. And this is what caused a blowback from their community. From the Mass Effect ending controversy to all these things, I'm saying you can trace this. It's a general decline of all these things. So from my standpoint, and now with the overt just ridiculousness of the devs, people like Man the Air and these developers and the programmers that are just coming out and telling gamers how much they don't care for them. Specifically, if you are white, straight, and male, we basically are saying that we don't want you purchasing our product. However, we'd like you to purchase our product so we can give you a lecture on why you're bad. So please fork over $60 and we'll give you a nice 40-hour, 50-hour long lecture on those things. And I'm like, I'm sorry, I'm not going to do this. Let's take politics out of this. Let's talk about the big thing, the final thing that made me pull the trigger on Dragon Age Inquisition. Say, oh yeah, I'll buy this. I will give BioWare one last chance. There was a video that came out showing the Inquisitor very specifically being given a hard moral choice. I remember seeing, all you see is the guy's helmet, and he's looking around, and they give him dialogue options, and Varric tells him, oh my god, the castle that we just came from is getting attacked. The village up ahead of us is getting burned. If we abandon our guys here in the field, they'll all be killed. What do you want to do, Inquisitor? And you have to make the choice. Go back to the castle, stay here in the field with your soldiers, or advance on the town. And when I saw that video, I was like, wow, I think they're taking this seriously. I think they're actually taking the role of a commander seriously. I'll buy this. Where is that scene in the game? It's not there. It was cut. I don't know why it was cut, but it was cut. So I'm done. There is no reason for me to purchase further BioWare products. People will say, Mass Effect Andromeda just had the big tech demo. My question is this: why is this a good thing? After what just happened with this last video, this could all be cut. This is all subject to getting cut. So showing me fancy graphics and goofy Asari characters does not exactly thrill me here with what you're saying. What I'm saying is, if Dragon Age Inquisition was the apology, if this was the apology to your fan base to say, give us another chance, come on, stick around here, you failed, man. You failed. As a team, you guys failed. And there's a lot of little issues, keyboard shortcuts, things like that, not working. That's not a big concern of mine. I remember that was a massive concern on the forums, though. But, who cares? Those forums are shut down. So I would actually encourage the people that listen to this, it's time to vote with your wallet. If you don't like what BioWare is doing, why would you expect them to be different? If you're part of the old BioWare crowd, you can't let them just keep making terrible products and then paying them for the pleasure of playing it. Don't. If they don't like you, stop feeding them. It hurts because there was a time that BioWare meant something to a great deal of us. And if you've made it this far in the video, you know what BioWare meant to you. It meant something, as I said earlier, why I was studying to be an attorney. You know that it meant something to me. I'm sure it means something to you. It means something to all people. There's almost every gamer has played a BioWare RPG at some point. If you've played RPGs, you probably have. But my point is, the team that wrote this, the team that made these games, is gone. And BioWare has basically demonstrated they ain't coming back. They're done. So, again, the only way that I would ever purchase Mass Effect Andromeda is if some reviewers that are kind of keyed into these things give it the go-ahead. That's it. That's the only way I would ever buy another BioWare product. And I don't have much time to play gaming anyway. There's other games, plenty of other games to play. So take that for what you will. If people would like to chat about any of these issues, or leave a comment, and who knows, maybe we can do a Google Hangout and you can share your story about BioWare, or your, whatever you'd like to think about gaming. Anyway, thanks for listening, everybody, and I'll talk to you guys again soon. Bye-bye.